Welcome boys and girls, Costin here with a discussion about Electronic Arts, which has just been purchased by Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner, among others. Now, this didn't happen out of the blue. Going as far back as 2021, the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund started purchasing shares in various gaming companies, among other things that Saudi Arabia has been doing over the years. And they ended up owning around 10% of Electronic Arts, long before this kind of deal was even hinted at. For EA's part in all of this, Andrew Wilson and other people in Electronic Arts might have wanted a deal like this years ago. Maybe even going as far back as Battlefield 2042, or even before Battlefield 2042 even came out. You might wonder why they would have wanted it, but it has to do with the things they've been dealing with. Suffice to say, as much as Andrew Wilson is the devil in the eyes of many video gamers, the reality is, when you look into the details of what he's been dealing with in his job, it really sucks. The reason behind that is, well, just to make a comparison to something you might encounter in a video game. Say, for instance, you have a Battlefield Pro team, right? And you have your setup, you have your strategies, you have your comps, guns, etc. Then your sponsor, or the guy who's handling sponsor relationships, comes to you and tells you, well, we want you to use more assault guys, and you should all go pistols, because that's what the sponsors want. Now, the guy in charge of the team was like, he can't just say no to the guy handling the sponsor, so he has to go to his team and tell them to do this. That is a nightmare. But the guy handling the sponsors, that's Andrew Wilson in that situation. And the reason he's doing this is not because he thinks necessarily it's a great idea. He might or he might not. But because those sponsors are coming to him and telling him, well, our market research is indicating you should use more pistols. In a video game development world, what this translates into is, let's say you have a shareholder meeting and some activist investor in particular comes up and says, oh, my kid is playing Fortnite, or we see that Apex Legends was very popular. How about you turn Mass Effect or Battlefield into Apex Legends 2.0? You can bet those kind of decisions have happened. Now, of course, Andrew Wilson is not a game developer. How much he is a gamer is even a discussion in its own right. But even he knows those kind of things are really bad ideas. But he can't say no to the shareholders because he's the boss of EA. Those are the guys who own EA. So he can't just say to his boss, no, we're not going to do that. What he might do with respect to the really bad ideas, he might just nod, smile, and say, we'll look into it. Or if a shareholder is insistent on a really bad idea, that even to him is very clearly a bad idea, he has to spend his capital, political capital, with the shareholders to stop it from happening. But that's how you get a lot of really bad ideas happening. Things like monetization, things like certain games being developed in a certain way. One may think that activist investors are just about like diversity and all that, and there's an element to it, but really they want games in a certain way. And those are not even the worst guys. Then you have the people who want quarterly profits above all else, or short-term profits above everything else. Do Dragon Age in a certain way, do Battlefield in a certain way, do all your games in a certain way so our quarterly profits look good. You can imagine a kind of nightmare of a job that is, and that's not even going into the subject of actually running the company that you're supposedly in charge and selling this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a nightmare. I mean, I've been in a management position. I've been in charge of dozens of people. Dealing with someone above you that has these stupid ideas that you can't say directly to them, this is really stupid, we won't be doing this, is nightmare scenario. Really. So that's the reason Electronic Arts may have wanted. Or it could just be Andrew Wilson's retirement package, possibly a combination of both, we don't know. So far, it does seem he's going to be staying with the company, though whether or not he gets replaced a couple of years from now after the deal is approved, after regulatory bodies agree to it, and they will agree to it, that will remain to be seen. Now, why are regulatory bodies going to agree to it? Unlike, say, what happened to Microsoft and Activision, where Microsoft had to fight hard to get that deal approved. Well, it boils down to this. You have Kushner. Trump is in the White House. The FTC is not going to piss off Trump to be dragged to the White House to be publicly humiliated in Trump's ritual circle. That is not going to happen. So the FTC is very likely to agree to it. Sure, there's going to be some activists putting pressure on the FTC, but it's going to happen. What about Europe? What about the United Kingdom? Well, there's two ways of looking at the UK and the European Union on this subject. First off, the European Commission and the UK are not going to be like, oh yeah, let's piss off Cthulhu, the orange Cthulhu over there who's breaking down the house. I'd rather keep my house. Because they don't want to be dragged by Trump into the White House to be publicly humiliated in that ritual circle. And beyond the aspect of Trump, bull in a china shop that he is, who will burn the house down if you piss him off, there's another aspect to this. Like, Kushner is there to make sure the deal is smooth. Like, he's probably just going to go to the FTC and regulators and says, you don't want to be dragged to the White House. I don't want to be dragged to the White House. So let's make it done. He'll reach some deal, all that kind of stuff. It's not because there's a corrupt deal in the process. It's because no one wants to piss off Trump. But then you have the UK and the European Union, who also have substantial business relationships with Saudi Arabia. So they inherently are not going to anger Saudi Arabia for a video gaming company. There are far bigger things at stake for both the UK and European Union than this. So Kushner is more to just smooth things out, make sure the process works, rather than bribing people. It's just smooth a process because no one wants to deal with another Microsoft Activision situation. And the question is, what comes out of it? What changes in Electronic Arts? Well, the shareholder model was clearly dysfunctional and we got a lot of stupid crap out of it. Will things be better? That's the question. Short answer is we have no clue. But we can look at what Saudi Arabia specifically has been doing on this subject, because they're now in charge of EA. Saudi Arabia is not interested in short-term profits. They got enough money in the short term that they don't care about it. They are spending a lot of money on long-term investment projects. They're not looking at a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan or a 10-year plan. They're looking at 50 years, 100 years from now. That's what Saudi Arabia is doing right now in every single area. It's culture, it's sports, it's cities in the middle of the desert that they're constructing. They're investing a lot of the money they currently have in projects that will only pay off decades from now. For them, it's strategic reasons. And people wonder why I follow geopolitics. Guess what? This shit matters in a daily way. So my view, if we look at what Saudi Arabia has been doing for years now, that is likely what they're going to want from Electronic Arts. They're not going to be interested if the skin pack of Kim Kardashian in Battlefield is going to sell well. They're interested in the following. If 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is Battlefield doing well? Is it competing with Call of Duty? They don't want the 2042 situation. They want a game that has as impactful as Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 3. They want to build legacy. They want to build growth. It's long-term projects versus short-term gains. That's what Saudi Arabia is doing across the board. To be certain on this, just to add this note, I am no fan of Saudi Arabia in many ways, so don't take this in any other perspective, but that is what they're doing. Long-term investments, not short-term profits. They have short-term profits. It's called oil. They don't need more short-term profits. They're looking for long-term growth. So it might end up being good, might end up having better games, might end up having EA and the companies under EA getting marching orders that tell them, make it cool, make it grounded, make it sell well, build reputation, do well. Don't piss off gamers anymore because we are interested in long-term investments. We're looking for long-term payoff. We're looking for cultural power. and we're looking at something that might not pay off for 20 years from now, but we want it to pay off after. I mean, realistically, when you look at Electronic Arts and how much money it's making every year, they're probably looking at 50 years even right now to get their money back. On the flip side, if they want that money back faster, yeah, they'll push monetization and all those things, or they'll sell EA for various parts to different companies to make a quick buck. But that doesn't align with what Saudi Arabia has been doing. The other people who are part of this deal, they might have those interests, but not the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. That's my view. Let me know what you guys think about this. There's obviously different possibilities. It depends on what they decide to do with it. There's good possibilities. There's bad possibilities. We'll find out. Kostin signing out.